to present in this forum. It's my pleasure, and I welcome all the faculty members, and I appreciate you taking time and being part of this program. I've been asked to present from an industry perspective. So I'm going to run you through, I think I have 1 hour's time, so I have multiple slides. I'll make it very interesting, and I will give you an opportunity like after the session, and I'll give you around 5 to 10 minutes if time permits. I mean, if it is feasible from the time perspective, and you can ask me any questions. To begin with, I'll just start a little bit from a video, and then we can move on to the slides, and I can go through the presentation. So can I, okay, I can share. So okay, you may have to allow me to share my screen, sir. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Just let me know if the audio is. Are you able to hear the audio as well?
Yeah, audio is there.
Okay, fine. Thanks. All right, thank you so much. And that was our showreel. That's what we do it. I'll brief you about that as well. Right, let me go to my presentation. Right, so my screen is on a full mode, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Great, thank you. All right, good afternoon. As you, many of you have just, Pritham sir has briefed about my profile. Again, I repeat, my name is Anand Pujari, and I'm education account manager with Autodesk right now. With this division, for the last 3 years, I'm working with the education community. Prior to that, I used to work in a department called as ADN, Autodesk Developer Network Group, where I used to manage the third-party partners, I mean, who develop applications on top of our products, because you cannot get everything under one product. There are so many people who want to customize the product, who want to increase the productivity, who wants to enhance the approach towards the product. So all that is being taken care by our third-party community. That having said that, in the sense, we have some open sources that will be utilized by our developer community to develop on top of Autodesk products. So in today's agenda, the whole idea was to look at from a design thinking perspective and how additive manufacturing is being considered at the industry level. But I'm not going deep into those subjects because I'm not that expert in that areas, but I will give you how I will connect you these areas, like because I don't have to go, because you already might be knowing about design thinking process and everything. It remains common. So we don't have to go into that areas, as well as I'm pretty sure you might be knowing about the additive manufacturing as well, from where it started and where do we stand. But what I'm trying to give you is an overall things, how the perception of the industry is changing with respect to these two areas, these two categories or topics you may want to consider. So, and that all aligns to the development of the product or the product design, and basically the design, make and use. We will be deep diving into the design, make and use, aligning to the design thinking, as well as some of the manufacturing technologies that are being adopted by the industries. So broadly, I'll be talking about how the future of making. I mean, you will see the traditional way of make has been completely changed. That is where you can see that the traditional approach of CNC manufacturing has been moved to an additive manufacturing. That was is the make transit or transit is happening when the 3D printings are coming into the picture. So you'll see how the industries are transitioning with respect to that. And I'll talk about some of the customer success stories where how the industry is adopting these technologies in their workflows. And I'll just give you a brief, because we are from the education community, and how Autodesk is supporting the education community. And I'll finally summarize with respect to what is a takeaway after this presentation. I mean, what we take away from this presentation. Hopefully, I'll make it very interesting. I will build a story around it so that you understand how the flow is all about, and that imbibes into your mind, and that can be imparted or inculcated back to your areas of expertise. I showed you the first reel. That was the Autodesk show reel, what we call it as. That was a broader coverage of a video animation which shows what are the different industry sectors or areas that Autodesk deals with, or that the industries deal with the technologies, deal with the design and make and use. Okay, and all those thinking processes, how processes are being changed. So these are the four major industries that Autodesk. This slide basically talks about the how Autodesk is providing the complete critical insights towards all these four industry segments. So we are really pioneer in terms of the architectural industry, building and architectural industry. That is what you see on the top right corner where my cursor is. You'll see the skyscrapers, right? There is a lot of change happening in terms of make with respect to this industry. Autodesk technologies are also used by the roadways and highways and railways and bridges, everything. That's what you see, what we call it as a construction industry. And then we are also very well connected to the mechanical industry. And I'm just taking one of the example of mechanical industry, the automotive sector, because we all are fond of automotives, because when we want to buy a car, when you want to buy a bike, we definitely look at so many factors, so many features. But how the industry has been transitioned with respect to the mechanical approach of both from the design thinking process as well as from the make perspective. So that is another industry that we definitely work with. And we are also very pioneer in media and entertainment industry. So Autodesk has a strong product portfolios where all the products, all the movies, most of the movies, especially be it Bahubali, Avatar, Chennai Express, or name it you, or gaming industry, animation industries, cartoons, all these, they use our products. So this is one of the clip of a movie, right? What you see here is a clip of a movie. And then these are the four major industry sectors that we work with, or that where our technologies are widely used. So what I really see is, I mean, let's focus on these three areas in today's presentation. That is design, make, and use. So the gap, I mean, the gap between the design, make, and use, or what we call it as a converge. Okay, it is these three pillars are converging very fast together. Okay, where what we see is that you design something that has been effectively used, and the feedback that you get from the use is helping and bridging a gap between the two is very high. So that's where the design process, the make process, and the use process are very interconnected to each other, and they are playing a major role. So what we will see is that very soon we'll see that completely, these are going to intertalk to each other, and based on that only the design will change, the make will change, and the product that comes to the market becomes very, very fast. Let's look at a deeper, let's dive deeper into these three topics, these two areas. So we'll deep dive into the design mix. Now, what does design means is nothing but, in this arena, is design is nothing but a collaboration. Gone are the days where we used to silos, we used to work in our silos. We used to have a design department, and then we used to have designers designing a product, manufacturers manufacturing the product, and that product used to come to the market. And then after the market, again, the designers used to keep on working those as a silos. And then they only find out something change in the product. And then again, a new product will come into the market. But this is not that. So design right now means it's a collaboration. So that means that anybody can collaborate globally. Anybody can connect to, and this change, so that the collaboration effort is helping to work very efficiently on many complex projects. So with this collaboration, that is where the second aspect of design is, again, it is not just restricted to the bigger industries. I mean, if you remember that somebody has to get a product to the market, or somebody has to start something, he has an idea, innovation, something, he has to have a lot of inventory investment initially. Either you have to be like Bajaj, Tatas, or where you have a huge chunk of investments required to get into the products kinds of a thing. But that is gone. I mean, with the crowdfunding coming into picture, where it becomes very, very easy for anybody who has an ideas, who has an zeal to get a product to the market, can get this crowdfunding. That's where you will see that the trend changed from industries to startup. So that's what is, you can kickstart your approach, your work, your research work into a product, convert that into a product with very, very minimal effort. You don't have to build a really big factory to get a product to the market. That's what it means now. So sorry. And the best part of the change with respect to the design is the high computational power. I mean, in the cloud coming into picture now, the computational, we have very, very high equipments to handle the computational power with respect to the cloud. So that is the biggest change in terms of design, because otherwise everything used to be set. When I say that, especially if you look at the animation industry or the media and entertainment industry, not only that, the high computational powers, be it simulation, be it CFD. So those things require a high computational powers. And especially in terms of gaming industry and everything, the characters and everything that we need to render. Previously, what used to have is, we used to have very high, heavy end machines. And in that, we used to run locally the rendering computations in that. For when we are doing that, when that used to go like hours, months, days, like that. And we have to be, the person who is working on those machines has to be idle until that work is finished. But now with cloud computation coming into picture, you don't have to worry about, your work is not hindered, or you're not stopping your work. That's why you see so many movies are coming so fast into this, so many products are coming, so because the work that is happening is in the cloud, which is like isolated from your work. You continue working. After the competition, it will come back to you. So that what I'm trying to say is the computational powers are increasing heavily these days. Let's shift a little bit focus from the make, and what is happening in the make industry, right? We all are seeing this one. I mean, many major cities are really bridging the roadways, highways very fast, and especially the metros are coming into picture, and especially the construction industry, if you look at it, is booming up so fast, and the structures are coming into so fast in within less of a time. Now, how is this happening? I mean, what is the makeshift? What is the change in the transition, right? We are moving from a traditional approach of building everything on the site. Gone are the days. Now we are not going to start completely the structure from the base on the site and keep on building on that one. So that is what is the biggest. If you look at like 10 years back down the line, if it is a metro has been built in Lucknow, or if you see the metros being built in Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, or Chennai for that matter, the previous year's project took almost like to build a kilometers, like say for example 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers metro rails, they used to take like 6-7 years. Now it's just months they will take to build like 10 kilometers things. Why? Because the change in the make is happening with respect to the prefabricated things. So everything is prefabricated. So that is a shift, that is a transition in terms of make is happening. And now why the make is and any product is coming so fast to the market is because there are, you don't have to, as I told you, don't have to build a huge practice. The micro factories are coming into picture. So the people who are like crowd funded, when micro factories coming into picture, and that's where the make is changing. And then additive manufacturing, robots are coming in, drones are coming into picture. So I'll talk about those as well. So these things are making our things very, very fast, and the products are coming to the market very fast. I'm not sure how many of you have, if you know, in the construction industry, in and around Karnataka, we have this Indira canteen. I'm not sure if this is implemented in other states. What this Indira canteen is done is it is to support the labor caste community, to give them a very at a low cost meal, I mean a breakfast meal and a dinner with a very, very low cost. I mean cost of a breakfast would be with 2 idlis and one vada would be 5 rupees. Cost of a meal would be 10 rupees, and the cost of a dinner would also be 10 rupees. And how this, they have built 100 units of these in and around Bangalore. Now, how does this, and they had a target of only 3 months. And how this happened is because of the prefabricated thing. So everything was in nearby Coimbatore, we have a factory. Everything was prefabricated there. And they bought everything and just assembled at the site. That's where they were able to, in 3 months time, 104 units they were able to build with respect to, and it's not small. It's like close to 30-50 areas of canteen, which will have a kitchen to serve, which will have the people to sit and eat and kind of a thing, stand and eat, all those things with tables. And that's how the third thing on the make side is, there is no off the shelf acceptance now. I mean, I go to the shop and whatever is available in the shop, I'm just buying that one. It's not the case now. It's the customer's demand. I mean, how personalized you make, so that the consumer, the user is thinking that my product or whatever I buy should be an outstanding one, should give my appearance in the crowd little different. So if you look at, somebody wants to stand next to his car, so he wants to showcase that how my car is really looking different in comparison to others. So what you see here is that the design or the make or the thing has gone. What you see is an additive manufacturing itself. The people have gone to an extent is that they will scan your ear, right, and it will exactly fit so that you get a high sound quality. It's no drop of your sound from your hearing, and you get the complete effect of the sound that are being captured, right? So that exactly suits to your ear. So to that extent people are thinking, I mean, and that's where the additive manufacturing has played a very, very important role. So these things of, especially with respect to FDM technologies and nylon material printing, it becomes easy for us to print such components and make it more sustainable, as well as and get faster product faster to the market. That's the makeshift. And how the use are changing. Now the digital data and the physical data are are connecting very, the relationship between these things is becoming stronger and stronger. The integration is becoming very strong between the digital environment or the digital data and the physical data. Now how that is happening is that whatever you make, I mean, digitally see, that can be made reality. And what you see on the top right corner is again a 3D printed component, is again as again moving from, of course you could do it CNC manufacturing as well, and you could use an additive manufacturing. So CNC, the manufacturing is not really completely shifted to additive manufacturing, but there is a way the transitioning is happening towards that. And the biggest thing is like, from the use perspective, so that is really giving back feedback to the designers, feedback to the make. Now, and you will see that sensors, the low cost sensors are becoming very, very important, because the sensors cost has gone low, and the sensors are playing an important role. The sensors are being connected to the physical thing. It could be place, it could be thing, or it could be a device, right? These things, the sense, when sensors are they are collecting the data as and when required, and at a repetitive sequence, at a repetitive stage, and feeding back that data back to the designers, back to the manufacturers, or back to the people who are monitoring those things. So that is the biggest shift that is happening. So what happens is with this data, so till now we were never thought about the data to be so focused. Now every industry is talking about the data. So that data is being fed back, and we are seeing more and more different kinds of variations, different kinds of products coming in the bottom. And in terms of, I would say that the collaborative or anywhere, any kind of a device to access, right? You will take tabs, mobiles are becoming a big chunk. There are so many applications are being developed to have that physical and digital interaction, and that feedback is becoming more and more important. So this is where the change or the transition is from the design, make and use. There are a new set of generation people are coming into the market than the traditional people. And these new generations who are adopting these technologies, who are adopting this makeshift, who are adopting the change, right, are really bringing products faster to the market. So this new generation is really effectively using the approach or the design thinking, the design processes, and the different kinds of make approaches, and trying to bring more products to the market. So this generation is really adopting the technology. Now let me go back to a little bit of a history and drag you to a history of how does all this transition started taking place. I mean, from where we were and where we are headed towards in today's arena. We all know that, right? We all started with an era of documentation in terms of design. Now, what does that documentation means is that, of course, everything was on a paper. So every design that used to do was on a paper. And of course, there were good designers. We still have those designers. We still use the 2D papers for our usage, be it in the shop floor, be it in the construction site. So of course, drawings play very major role still. But what is the shift is like the decision making capabilities. So the decision at that time, we used to use our intuitions. We used to use our like experience to make that sudden or subtle decisions on site, and that requires a lot of, and that used to be like only very key person. So that used to take a lot of time. So that was the era that we all dealt with, right? Now how did we transition from that? Of course, to digitally also we had 2D digital, I mean 2D environments. So what made us to move from the era of documentation to era of optimization? So what does that mean is that we shifted from a 2D environment to a 3D environment. So that, having said that, I mean, in the sense is like in 3D environment, you are realistically feeling, I mean, it really gives a very predictive information about the insights, okay, about the accuracy, about the usage, and you will really feel it how the product would look like. I mean, that is what is the biggest thing that has been optimized, helps you in optimizing your design, which was really difficult in terms of a 2D thing. So how that really is helping the designers is because with the optimization coming into picture, we would know that how each product is talking to each other. I mean, how they are interacting with each other, how they are connected to each other. So that would help us to understand that where my flaws are there, where my approaches are there, what kind of a changes that I would need, and how accurate I need to get the product to the market. So that is the makeshift that happened from a 2D environment to a 3D environment, where we more focused on a optimizing of our products. But now is the era of connection, the era of collaboration. So of course, the optimization still remains the same. I mean, we are taking that optimization to the next level by making, how are we optimizing now is the physical and the digital. So we are bridging the gap. We are building a stronger integration between the physical and the digital environment. So that's where the optimization is more focused in terms of making the products to talk to the users, making the products to talk to the manufacturers. Because what I mean is talk is not physically talk, because the data, the more the users use it in appropriate way, the better feedback that is being given back to the manufacturers or the makers or the designers. So now is the era of connection or the collaboration. Now how that connection is working is like the connection or the collaboration is like, at the construction site we are started using the drones, which will give us a which will give us a different kinds of a feeling or different kinds of approach in terms of our design thinking. It will give us a progress of our projects, like where, how much time does it take for us to complete this project, and also so the timeline is reducing very, very fast. And what you see at the construction line is a better control of with respect to my design. Not only in the construction, in the manufacturing industry also, we see that the robots are coming into picture. Many robots are being used in terms of the assembly lines to do their jobs, and drones are being used, and higher technologies like generative designs are being used. I'll talk about generative design a little bit later. But this is and micro factories are coming. So this is a little transition from where the traditional assembly line or the traditional approach has been changed from a digital end. So everything is interconnected now. I would give a very good example here with respect to GE. I mean, here what you see is a intelligent cruise control system that GE adopted in its system. Now, what this does is like that cruise control system is repeatedly at regular intervals, the sensors are being placed where the data needs to be collected back. And with that data feeding back to the rail engineers has helped them to save hundreds of millions of dollars in terms of the maintenance cost. So the predictive maintenance is very, very important these days before the actual product fails or goes, because once it fails, right, the whole engine or the whole equipment or the whole factory has to be shut because of one failure. So we have to have a predictive maintenance kind of a thing, and the predictive maintenance can come into picture is only by adopting these things into our assembly line or into our designer. So sensors which gave feedback to the engineers were able to fix those problems well in advance, and they were able to save a lot of cost in terms of their designs, in terms of make as well. That's one example. And as I said, this is an era of connection. What does that mean is my data sits at one location and I'm able to access my data from anywhere through any device. Now, how does that is helping is because, for example, if I'm working on some kind of a project, and if a very similar project has been already developed somewhere in Europe or US or in APAC, in any other region of the APAC, then we can easily collaborate with them through these technologies now. So rather than me reinventing the wheel, why not talk to that person or that lady and then understand, and if we can collaborate in terms of our project, then that becomes our life easy. Then we don't have to spend too much of time. And what is helping us is like the data transition is becoming easy with respect to the cloud computational, and the products that are being designed or thought about are coming very fast to the market. So that's why we call it as this is an era of collaboration. This is an era of connection, and we have to be incorporating these things into our education system as well. Now here is another example I would take, okay? And this guy, Richard Hadfield, very fond of motorcycles, right? He wanted to build a motorcycle, and this motorcycle is nothing but a battery operated motorcycle. So he wanted to build a battery operated bike in comparison to the combustion bikes that we have. And he wanted to maintain the same speed and capabilities to win the competition, right? Of that, the combustion vehicles are being used in the racing industry. And trust me, he has just a 8 to 10 members team. And with that also, what you see on my right side is a bike that has been fully designed, which is an electric bike. And they adopted all these different kinds of approaches. Some of the components that you see, this is nothing but an additive manufacturing with a generative design. Some of the areas, some of the components were generatively designed. I'll talk about what generative design is all about. That's a different designing approach that has been the talk of the town in today's world now. And with this approach of the make change, the additive manufacturing, the thinking of the design process being changed, he was able to get this product faster to the market. And this bike has already won a couple of competitions as well as awards because of its design, sleek design, as well as a battery operated thing, which is a completely sustainable design, that every industry is looking at it. So that's a very good example of how people are moving from a conventional method of manufacturing to a different approach of manufacturing. Let's talk about an industry we all know about, and this industry is nothing but the industry of weight, right? It is nothing but this industry talks more about the weight. So if your vehicle is heavier, then you have a lot of issues with respect to your fuel consumption. So most of the industries that you're looking at it in this automotive industry that we talk about is trying to reduce the biggest challenge for them is to reduce the weight of the vehicle, but still maintain the a factor of safety. They still maintain the driver comfortability and still maintain the accidental impacts. The safety matters. So in making all those things, so what you see is an assembly line of the General Motors. Okay, and traditionally over the years, I mean, General Motors is now 100 years older. So over the years, General Motors have always adopted the newer technologies in its assembly lines or in its factories, so that whatever comes, because their biggest challenge is to optimize their assembly line, optimize their car manufacturing, optimize their designs. So to optimize, they have to adopt the newer technology. Now, what we see is the same. I mean, it is, you may look little clunches, but, and trust me, one car has nearly 30,000 plus parts. Okay, and today you see that General Motors, from an assembly line, for every minute there is a car comes out of from the assembly line. Now how does that is happening is because they have transitioned their, or they have taken the optimization approach in their assembly line as well. So that's where they are adopting the newer technology, and that's where they are able to get in a minute a car out of their assembly line by having these robotics, by having these drones, and by having these manufacturing methods. So that is the change that is happening in the and people like General Motors are able to adopt those things in their workflow. Now General Motors, if it just stops there, okay, we are good, we are getting 30, we are getting one car, 30,000 parts car one in a minute, and our sales is also good and everything, we are good. So do we stop here? I mean, should are we good? Are we the market capture as of now today? That definitely not the case. Now General Motors are looking ahead, and they are aggressively thinking of the electric vehicle bringing into the market. And this year and the next year, by 2022, they have targeted that they would get around 20 to 25 vehicles, electric vehicles, to the market. Now, if electric vehicles has to come into the market, it has got its own constraints or issues, I would say. So if at all I have to get an electric vehicle, the biggest challenge is like, what would be my mileage and what would be my battery capacity, right? How much of the battery is, what should be the battery weight, what should be my vehicle weight, or if at all vehicle is. The second is the vehicle weight, right? That is one thing. And then third is like the safety matters, because road safety is very, very important. So these are the major things that they have to consider. Now all these can be achieved, right, if they adopt the right technology at the right time and start looking into those areas. That's where the technologies like which are being talked at the industry level is like generative designers. I'm talking a little ahead. I'm giving you an example of which is right now being a buzzword or a norm word in the industry. Everybody, because as I mentioned you, we have seen the era of documentation, optimization, connection. Now in the optimization, we are going really, really a step ahead. Now I'll tell you about what this generative design is nothing but. Generative design is nothing but, we call it as a design exploration. It is in the name itself. It's a design exploration. So let me talk about, explain you in a different way. So right now, what we are doing is a very, very passive design. Now, what do you mean by a passive or a passive design approach, I would say? So what is that passive design approach is that everything is there in my idea in my mind. I mean, I only start from the conceptual design. I only think how the product would look like, and the designer would do everything. And what he's doing is he's really just giving a feedback to the machines, and machine is giving them an output, right? That's what is the approach. And whenever there is a design change, it again runs into my mind, and I just look at it, and then I modify it, and again I fed that data to the machines, and the machine is giving an output. So that is what we call it as a passive design approach. But today's world, because the products are coming faster to the market, because if you are not able to get your product faster to the market, you are out of the industry. For that example, I can certainly give you many examples. The industries which are dead today, which were leadingly very, very high leading industries in the market. I mean, the best example is Nokia. All of us know, right? We all used to go after Nokia mobiles only. And Nokia mobiles, they earned a huge chunk of money when the mobile industry started booming up. Now, where is Nokia? Nowhere. And then Samsung took over it completely. Samsung, like, okay, overturned it, right? So today again we are not looking at, because that's where I told you about the user requirements is changing. They are looking for a customized approach. And why Nokia failed is because Nokia didn't even try to approach or adopt the newer technologies. That's where their failure. Well, let's talk about our camera industry, Kodak, right? Where is Kodak now? Kodak is also not there. Why? Because this is where, so we have to tell the newer generation or everybody, if they are not adopting the newer technologies, then it is not possible. Now, what is this newer technologies, right? So what I said was, is a passive design approach, right? Now, what makes it? So there is a lot of time was being spent or wasted in terms of design. The designer was not able to think more from a design perspective, more from a process perspective, more from its usage or approach perspective, but he was spending more time in terms of drafting or creating that design, or just reiterating the same sketch again and again. Now, then people thought about, why not give this work to a machine? That's where the cloud computing comes into picture, whatever we call it as. It's the era of cloud, right? So what the people thought about, why not challenge a machine itself? Now, I give certain inputs to the machine, and the machine would understand my inputs and give me different variations of the design. And of those different variations, I would take the best suits to my thing, right? That is where you will see that people started taking that approach. Industry started. General Motor was the first to adopt such technologies into their arena, saying that, hey, let's not waste time. Let's use this computational pursuit, or what we call in the today's acronym word is the machine algorithm, right? Machine learning. So that's what we say. So we are challenging the machine by these. The people have started developing algorithms which will give. So now I have the capabilities to challenge the machine. I give certain conditions, I give certain inputs based on my design, and it will throw me different variations, different variants. And of that variants, I will choose one variant which will suit to my need. And what is the advantage of that is, as well, is like what you see on the right side is nothing but, I'm hoping now after seeing this picture, I'm hoping you will correlate what this picture is all about. This is nothing but a bracket assembly of a car seat belt. If you have seen that, you pull a seat belt and plug it to your car, I mean a seat belt, this is nothing but a bracket assembly. And this contains of 8 different parts, and you have to have 8 different vendors to supply this one. You have to assemble so much of. And with generative design coming into picture, that is being transitioned from 8 components to one single component. And the best part is this, I would say, approximately weighing somewhere around a kg or half a kg or something. This would be in terms of grams. So there is a thing of lesser in the weight, because that is going to, if you imagine that if General Motors is able to adopt this technology, and weight reduction is one of the biggest aspect of the automotive industry. For one part, if you are able to reduce the weight to this drastic extent, imagine for 30,000 parts, if you are able to reduce the weight. And trust me, this is more stable, sustainable, and stronger in terms of its factor of safety, in terms of this. But the design is very complicated. This is where the additive manufacturing comes into picture. And what you see is nothing but, it is traditional approach of manufacturing is not possible for this product as of now. It is nothing but only 3D printing, and they have used metal 3D printing to get this product, and it is being used in the car. So that is one approach. So finally, they thought that this is the best design that suits to our need, and then they are able to adopt that in there. Now, another example I'll take. This is a very beautiful example, right? I'll go back to that slide a little bit, but first I'll give you this picture. So here is the Boeing industry has adopted uh, generative design in their technology, in their designs. And what they want to do is to reduce the partition. What you see on the front side is the cabin crew partition. This is a normal partition between the passenger crew and the cabin crew to sit, right? So this, you can see how solid material it is and how much that weighs. And from there, they adopted this generative design technology. From that, today they moved to this kind of a partition thing, right? In terms of what we call it as a bionic partition, right? And what were they able to achieve? They were able to achieve 40.45% reduction in terms of their material usage, or 30 kg lesser in terms of their overall weight. I'll just go back a little bit. Now, hello? How does that all happen? You can see here the existing state of the art partition, which is a solid body, weight 65 kgs, displacement is 100 and load. So that's a study. But the bionic one, which is like 35 kgs, 45 reduction hits and difference. Now you may say, sir, what is the difference by making these things? One of the biggest factor for the aero industry is the weight reduction is one thing. The more the weight reduction, the better for them, maintaining the same capabilities, maintaining the same study. And this is what I said. So now what they have done is they have thrown that challenge to the machine. The machine has given them all these variations, okay, with respect to the materials that have been chosen, and based on this result, whichever suits to them, they have taken up that. So what difference does it make is that the other factor, as I said, material is one of the bigs, because it's advisable. The sustainable design, what we means is we save our planet, we save our earth, because ours is an exhaustible resource. All industries are looking, the more material you save, the better, and come up with a better design. That's the best approach in terms of sustainable design. The second thing is, with that, what they were able to save is on the fuel consumption. Just by this change, I'm telling you, just by this change, fuel consumption of a vehicle or the airplane got from 450 tons of carbon dioxide emission, they were able to CO2, they were able to save. That means, because I mean, that much of emission used to happen with respect, because of this change, they were able to control that exhaust. And then what does that mean is like 96,000 vehicles running on the road. So that much of, so you can imagine, with a little change in the make, with a little change in the design process, with a little change in the design, they were able to save so much. So now they have a couple of things you have seen in the videos. So even NASA is adopting these technologies in their workflow. From the commercial things, I'm coming back to the academic. Now the same concepts are being applied by our own students, right? I'll tell you, this is an example of our student from Dayanand Sagar College University in Bangalore, Dayanand Sagar College in Bangalore. They looked at the generative design in one of the events that we students were participating in that event. They looked at the approach of a design through generative design, and they said that, oh, we have to bring this one. So what we made is, because generative design technology to use is a cost to the company. Now I'll tell you why. Because the computational power, right now we don't have our own computational servers. We rely on the Amazon servers or the Azure Microsoft servers. And when we say that Azure servers, because the computational has to happen in the cloud now, it is not on the local machine. So when the computational happens, so per computational, we have to pay to the Amazon servers. But in spite of that, what we thought is, let's give this free to the educational community so that they can adopt this technology, play around. Because what we feel is, from an Autodesk perspective, is the innovation comes from two people only. One is the advanced level technologies who are really adopting the new technologies. And the second thing is the academic level, the kids, the students, because they think out of the box. So that's where these students also thought. What you see on the 4-bar mechanism, I mean, it's a quadcopter chassis, right? They just applied this technology to the quadcopter chassis on a 4-bar, And what you see on the results is on the right side. So this is the output that they got. They got this output, but even you can edit or remodify that design, and they gave a strength to that, and they came up with this design. And here is the drastic change. The initial ABS plastic material took them 424 grams, but the same ABS material after applying the generative design was 180 grams. So that's it, maintaining the same mass stress as well as the displacement. You can see that, right? Now, this is the actual product that was 3D printed, and it flies. I have the videos as well. It was showcased in multiple events of Autodesk, and they had these there are two variants, but they came up with four different variants. Actually, I don't have that picture, but they came up with four. One is for the aesthetic look, one is the stronger one, another one is like a material thing and something like that. They came up with four different, and this is completely done by the 7th or 6th semester students, I'll tell you. Another project, okay, from the same college, Dayanand Sagar. This guy came, we somehow came across this accidentally with this kid, because this student is an electronic student, have no knowledge about the design, have no knowledge about how to make his product. But with his electronic, I mean, he's an electronic guy, so he was able to make this robot bot, and he has won in 2 competition. He was the first winner. I mean, he was the winner with the first prize. But look at his design approach. I mean, no thought process. He used PVC pipes in his design. Cables are running here and there, but that's his approach. But as a designers, we have to think differently. So we transitioned this approach, collaborating both the mechanical students as well as electronic students, bringing them, applying the mechatronics kind of a thing, and applying generative design concept. This is what you see on the right side, is a complete transition, and this is what is the actual product in the market. I mean, in the market, in the sense, this was also showcased to many people, and many people appreciated the effort by the students. So crisp and so clear, all cable going under things, the arms, the movements, and everything was perfect. Not only that, as I told you, industries like Fiat Chrysler are also applying the generative design. What you see current is an aluminum casting, and this is a new concept of additive manufacturing they're looking at. It is under pilot program now. If this gets approved by their industry, this will go into, these are the locations it will fit in every vehicle of Fiat that is going to. And what they achieved is the 27% of the mass reduction in their components. That's a huge sustainable design, huge. If you go for the mass production, you can imagine how much of material they will be saving on that one. So I'll tell you, what is this differentiator? I mean, what actually is the differentiator? Is nothing but, this is the differentiator. So we have to come up with more and more design and more products to the market that can meet the needs or suits the needs of the consumers or the users, with a less impact on our planet, with a less of a material, and better products to the market, right? That's what has to be approached in terms of our design thinking, in terms of our design approach, and in terms of our make. So here I'll take one quick example. Now, how industries are asking us, oh, okay, we want to be part of this approach. We want to build products at a lower cost, at a sustainable one, with maintaining all the capabilities as it is, and get products faster to the market. So we say that we are not talking about one product or one software. We call it as a platform. So if you have to be, and we call it as an innovative platform, if you have to be meeting these needs, then you have to be adopting the platform technologies. Now let's understand the design data as the center part. Okay. Now, how do we deal with the design data? You have technologies like Fusion 360, Autodesk Fusion 360, Autodesk Inventor, or Max, Maya, so many products which will do the designing part of it, which will do the simulation part of it. Even you can go and extend it to the PCB designing of it. And then with the seamless integration, you can transition from your design to make, okay, to design to make, and because there won't be any data losses, and your make products can be very efficiently done. And not only that, and the use cases as well. So now there is as I told you in the initial presentation, so the gap between these three are reducing. The feedbacks are given by the user community, which goes to the designers and makes, and the products are coming faster to the market. Beyond that also, there are high-end equipment tools. We have products like NetFab, as I told you, we have products like Revit, and all those things which can be used for your advanced levels of designing. Power mills, advanced manufacturing technologies are there. We have a set of power mold products which are being used by the industries. So when I say, I'm not talking about our products, when I mentioned, but because I come from the Autodesk, I might say that we have, don't think that I'm pitching my product here. Please understand the concept or the approach that the industry is taking. And why we have to tell about this is because it's an innovative platform, right? That when we give this platform to our education or the student community or to the industry, then they don't have to hop from machine to machine. This approach will give them a faster product to the market with a lesser material and maintaining the sustainability. And this is where one of the product that came into picture from our previous year's Autodesk Fusion 360, you can explore that, which will take you from your conceptual design till fabrication in everything under one product, so that the student or the startup or the educators or the company do not hop from one machine to the other machine. So that is why the data, design data plays a very, very important role. And you cannot go with the software approach. You have to go with the product innovation platform approach. And I come back to the same things where I started. So all these are interconnected. Your approach is interconnected. Your design thinking is interconnected, right? Your make is interconnected. So design, make, and use, we talked in detail about it. But this center part, this remake, is where every company has to relook into it. Because if you don't relook into it, as of now, if you look at it, 70% of the materials developed under the automobile industries are reused. I mean, not reused. They are like not effectively used. They may have to go back to the reusage as well again. So if you look at from a sustainable, if you are able to remake from an existing things as much as you can, then that's a very, very good design approach or a design thinking that you can bring into your arena. Okay, I shift from my industry approach to my education right now. By 2020, of course, we have already crossed. This is a little old slide that I'm using. I forgot to change that one. 95 million people there will be 95 million opportunities in the manufacturing sector itself. I mean, job opportunities, you will find it. And of that, 2.4 million is only will be available only in the American countries. You can imagine the rest of the world. Now, why is that happening is because of this, because there are a lot of people don't understand the importance of this approach. There is a huge aged people are going to get retired, and we need to help the younger generation to take over those things. Now, if you have to help the younger generation to take over those places, then they have to be equipped with respect to these technologies and these design approaches and these thinkings. So we have to train them. And the best part is, like, we have a huge chunk of population to support or to help these. So 2.52 billion falls under a category who are very, very tech savvy. This generation is very tech savvy. They understand the technology very fast. So we just have to groom them in. So Autodesk, what it thinks from an education perspective is to three things. We have to inspire the students. We have to engage them in these technologies, and we have to prepare them for the industry. We have to make them ready for the industry. Now that many in the mechanical or in the construction people don't understand. People are moving to they think that the white collar job is the best job. Many, even though they learn mechanical, civil, architectural, or some industrial engineering or something, but everybody are going to software testing, software development kind of a thing. But why is because these students are not aware of what's the importance of this. They are not aware how the process works. They are not aware how the technology works. If you are able to help them with respect to that mindset, I'm pretty sure that this industry people will find a lucrative things in this kind of thing. Now, how Autodesk is doing that one is, first is Autodesk brought cloud competition into picture, because everything, if you are not adopting the cloud technologies, then you are gone. Virtual realities, we are seeing everywhere the virtual realities are coming. I mean, AR and VR are playing important role. And what you see on the right side is definitely the additive manufacturing is another thing. So all this collaboration, all this advancement level, bringing it to the education community will help us to really make students or make the industry ready so that they take a very lucrative job in the industry as well. Now, this is just an information for you that we have around 8+ million student community users under our communication, and 100+ professional designers and who think products differently, right? And this is like, I think last but not the least, tons of resources available on our website. And this is freely available. And the best part of Autodesk is like 10 years down the line, I wouldn't say it as a free software. We decided to do it as no cost. We stopped selling it to the education community. And what we see it is that if students are able to adopt these technologies, if institutes are able to adopt these technologies, and if they are able to go back to the industry and say that, hey, I use these products and which was very comfortable, which are very good design software, so designing tools, which will increase our thought process, the industry can adopt those things. And that is where is the win for Autodesk, which is a longer term. But here is a tons of resources. We have design academies, the learning resource. We have help documents to help understand from a design perspective. So please go or ask your students to go to these areas, and they should be able to really think or adopt those design thinking approaches and design and make approaches and all those things. So if I come to my final slides, okay, all this talk is really good. And what is the takeaway for us? The takeaway for us is that we have to adopt or work through the latest technologies and make the students ready for the industry. If we don't, I mean, you don't have to be expert or learn all new things. You just have to be aware of these things, and you just tell them that, hey, this is something I saw somewhere, and this is where you can go and find it. That's good enough for them. They'll just kick it up, they'll just take it up and go from there. And Autodesk is an industry partner for the future of making. I mean, the make, as I told you, is completely transitioning. As a prefabrication is coming into the construction industry. Roads and highways are prefabricated. Everything is assembled on the site. Assembled, I'm saying, we use the word assembled, right? Robots, manufacturing, 3D printing, okay, and cloud computers are coming into picture. So we are ready for the industries. And Autodesk is definitely a thought leader in terms of its design and make thing, and that is what it is bringing it to the education community. Actually, as a differentiator, I talked a little bit about generative design, which is a really buzzword in the industry right now, and that is what we need to be make students aware of that. So with that, I really thanks Jaipura Institutes for giving me an opportunity. Hopefully I was within my time. Have I exceeded that? Okay, I think I am within my time. 2:30, 3:30. Okay, I am 4 minutes extra. Sorry about that, sir. So with that, I think I'm done with my presentation. Thank you for patiently listening to my presentation. And now I'm open for any question and answer.
Thank you so much, sir. So now I can imagine how China can prepare a hospital of 1,000 bed in a month, or army people can prepare their things in a short time. So
Absolutely.
everything is ready already, ready there. So they have to only assemble there.
Exactly, sir. Exactly.
So participant, do you have any questions?
Yeah, it could be anything. I mean, I don't mind taking any question, be it academic, be it industry level. I've spent now almost 20 plus of years of thing in the industry. It doesn't matter. Anything that comes to your mind, feel free to ask. I'll be happy to answer those queries. Okay, if there are no questions, I'll ask question. I mean, I just want to understand, was it informative? I mean, was it something different that was there, or you people have already come across these things, you have already were aware? I know many people, many you get an opportunity to go to events, you do research on their own, because students these days are very questionnaire. They ask for so many things. So I just want to understand, was it really helpful? Was it slightly different than what you expected? You may raise hand, thumbs up, yes, no, from your Zoom itself. Can give me your reactions from your Zoom itself, or anybody can speak as well. Anup sir is not audible. I think your mic is muted.
Pritham sir, am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, Anup sir.
Okay. So, sir, it was the examples that you cited, whatever content you delivered, I found it very relevant, and I think that I will be able to take most of the stuff to my classroom teachings as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Anup sir. That was a very good feedback for me.
So, Ms. Tapasya, you can unmute yourself and say a few words.
One of the things that I have noticed in the 3 years is, sir, that the urban city or the tier one cities get really greater exposure to the technologies fast, but the tier two and tier three cities, I mean, only through people like you, only through educators and everything, we can bring such technologies to the tier two and tier three cities, because every student has that capabilities. I see that many. I have some of them from Sholapur region. I have some of the students, one from Noida, not, but he's studying in here. Both the students, you can refer them in LinkedIn. Look at their designs, sir. I'm able to transfer at least 2 students in my these 3 years. I'm very one's name is Harsh Priyanshu. You can search him in LinkedIn. Look at his design, sir. He was 8 months back, not even aware of what design is all about, not even aware of the thinking. So he's from aeronautical department, 6th semester student. But I'll tell you, go look at him, look at his designs in under the name Harsh Priyanshu in LinkedIn. Fantastic. And surprisingly, because what I do is I sometimes give them he's our catalyst. I give an opportunity to him to present. So while presenting to his own institute, I don't know, a faculty or a student from Punjab University, I don't know when, how come they attended, because that's happening here in the, it's virtual, obviously. Somebody has attended and they requested him to present for their aeronautical department, the Punjab University. So that's a last 25th, 26th, 27th, I think 3 days he presented to that university. And I think, and there are some students who are on his follow-up, they are also posting their designs. And Siddheshwar Madole is from Sholapur, comes from a very distinct background, and fantastic guy. He's been when he started 2 years back with us, the journey. Today he's out from the college. He finished his 8th semester and he's been nominated as the best outstanding student from NK Orchid College. And that is also posted by some other student, because they identify like mechanical, electronics, and computer science. So this guy was from the mechanical department, best outstanding student. So he's been, and he was very thankful, sent me a message saying that, sir, this is a transition for me. I said, good, fantastic.
Yes, it is.
All right, I think I have exceeded my time. It's 3:30. I was given 1 hour time. I took 3:30 or 10 minutes more. Sorry about it. But anytime, Pritham sir has my email ID number. If you people have any questions, please feel free to ask Pritham sir, and I'll get in. I'll be happy to answer those things as well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, participants, to attending 5-day FDP. So please fill the form, feedback form in your login. So we will close the session now. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Anand.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
Session for last 5 days.
Pardon?
It's very nice session
Okay.
for last 5 days. That's I am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, for the last 5 days, we were able to know about the design thinking and as well as the prototyping. It was a new topic to me as a teacher. So thanks a lot for arranging a program of this kind.
Welcome, sir.
Dr. Preetham, congratulations for conducting such an informative faculty development program for all of us.
Thank
We
you.
really like it.
Thank you. So I'm closing the session now. All the best.
Thank you, sir.